Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be featuring to you my updated Dimensionpolice deck profile post Twinkle Melody. Whew. There's a lot of videos been coming out lately. Alright you guys, so I'm going to be hopping into my deck profile featuring Dimensional Robo Dailiner and all the updates I made to this deck since the introduction of Twinkle Melody to the meta. Now if you guys haven't been aware, Twinkle Melody has been in America for about a week now, along with Sanctuary Guard deck out there, and I've just been playtesting everything I can against it. I haven't got Sanctuary Guard yet, nor have I picked up too many Twinkle Melody cards. There's a few decks I want to upgrade, but I'm waiting for all of that to come in the mail. So I've just been playtesting everything else out that I have here, and I have to say I'm liking everything so far. So Dailiner is a deck that I've been playing a lot. I'm a huge DimensionPolice fan, and it's just a deck that I've just been putting a lot of time and effort into and making it the best that I can, especially against the English meta. So without further ado, I'm going to hop right into this deck profile and show you guys some of the major changes I've made to this deck that I didn't think I was going to incorporate until later. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright you guys, so I play 4 copies of Super Dimensional Robo Dailiner. So Super Dimensional Robo Dailiner still the main MVP of the clan, and just a really amazing card to have still. For those of you guys that do not remember what Dailiner does, he has the effect of Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and Act ability. You reveal the top 7 cards to your deck, and then you add 1 normal unit among them to your hand. If you chose a grade 3 unit, this unit gets plus 20,000 plus 1 critical to the end of the turn. So again, this is still a really good pressure card, still offers a lot of utility and resources, allowing us to pick the grade 3s that we need, depending on where we are in the game or the strategy that we're having towards where we're going. Dailiner also has its second ability, which is very important now, because its first ability allows you to, all of your grade 3 units get plus 10,000 shield, as long as this card's in the Vanguard circle. So this makes all the grade 3 cards that we have in our hand, which normally usually be dead cards until our turn had started, a lot more relevant thanks to his ability. So Dailiner, where it stands right now is a lot of the units in this deck are focused on just countering against the meta, because that's the only way that this deck can still be built. It focuses on countering against the meta and just doing what you can and killing your opponent as fast as possible, because DimensionPolice, while strong, it still doesn't have like that strong like defense game against many other decks unless you incorporate some of their specifically defensive units into the deck to make it stand a chance against the meta. So I'm just playing Dailiner because he adds shield to your grade 3s, and he's still helpful in breaking your deck down to compress for more triggers and getting the pieces you need to counter against whatever you're playing against. So for this card is a must, as it is the main Vanguard of the deck, and it's just really good to have. For our next grade 3, I played 3 copies of Ultimate Dimensional Robo Great Daiyusha. So this is the universal finisher for DimensionPolice. It's good with everything that you played in. For those of you guys that do not know what this card does, it has the ability, which is when placed on the Vanguard circle, 3 of your front row units get 10,000 power to the end of the turn. And that has its second ability, which is a hand activated ability, which is at the end of the battle that your Vanguard attacked, if its power is 45,000 or more, this unit can be placed on the Vanguard circle for a counterblast of 1 and at 10,000 power. So this is the finisher of the deck. This is what we want to go into to kill our opponent. We're going to set up Force 2 on our Vanguard and our rearguard circles, and then we're going to go ahead and combine that with the additional 10,000 power we're getting to our front row and triggers so that we can kill our opponent as soon as possible. Thanks to Great Daiyusha, it's still, like I said before, it's still the main finisher of the deck. It's just an amazing card to have, as it gives you an additional Vanguard attack, which DimensionPolice really needs, because this deck otherwise wouldn't have multiple attacks. It would just have fat attacks on the center, and then this deck doesn't have any like good guard restricting. I mean, you have Glory Maker, but that's not enough. So having Daiyusha to be the finisher of the deck after we get done creating a multiple of attacks is just really important to have. My next grade 3 is 3 copies of Black-clad top tier Deity Bradblack. Honestly, this card in my opinion saves the clan. This card does so much when you see it. This is the card that you want to go to when you go second. Bradblack has 2 Vanguard abilities, which is the first one, which is on the first turn you counterblast 1, choose 3 of your front row units and they get 10,000 power. And then his second ability is at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you look at 7 cards from the top of your deck. You pick a grade 3 from among them and add it to your hand. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can ditch 2 cards in your hand and superior ride that unit that you will get 10,000 power, drive -1. So this card helps us set up into a second finishing turn. You can use this when you're going second to go into your Daiyusha without having to pay its counterblast cost, or you can use this to go to another grade 3 play in the deck that has actually been a finisher a few times, but I don't mind it at all. Or you can use this card to set up into your Dailiner to start going to the next turn if you don't think you can win to the next turn. So Black-clad top 2 Bradblack, in my opinion, really did save the deck, as he just offers so much more utility, and he offers a second turn option, as going into Dailiner second doesn't really, it wasn't as powerful, but with this card we can get multi-attacks in our deck and get more power to our front row to be more lethal. And it's a good second ride option, so that this way you don't have to ride into Daiyusha and waste our finisher on a turn that's pointless. Now for my last grade 3, the newest addition to my deck is I'm actually playing 2 copies of Super Dimensional Robo Daiarms. So if you guys don't know what Daiarms does, it was a card that released in Silver Dust Blaze, and it has the following effect. Its ability states, when on Vanguard or Rearguard circle when placed, if your opponent's hand has 10 or more cards, 3 of your front row units get plus 30,000 power. So the reason why I'm playing this card is because this just helps counter against the meta and whatever is coming your way. Decks like Luard, Gavrael, pretty much almost all Bermuda decks can build up to a really fat hand. And even Astropose can do it too. So Dimensionpolice can't really do that, because unless you're playing a bunch of draw triggers, and with Daiarms, it just helps you counter against the meta by giving your front row 30k power on top of any 10,000 power bonus they had prior, and then by doing that you're just swinging for really fat attacks all around. And then because this unit has a force marker, which is actually pretty important, you can stack a force 2 on one of your rearguard units, and then now you've got 2 units in the front row that have criticals, which makes your attacks a lot more lethal and threatening. This card mainly is just to go up against whatever deck I feel like is needed for. That's why I only play it at 2, because it is a grade 3 and it is searchable. Otherwise, it's just guarding. It's just a 10k guard for Dailiner when I have it. But this card just helps me play against whatever decks are building up too much resources too fast that I can't deal with, and then he deals with that. So that's why I'm playing 2 copies of it, and I can't say that I'm disappointed with it. I'm very pleased. For my next grade 2 line, I play 2 copies of Quick Hero Active Mask. Now, as I played this card in my last video, my thoughts on it haven't changed. If you guys want to know what Active Mask does, he has the following effect, which is when this unit attacks, or my bad, when your Vanguard attacks, if its power is 30k or more, you counterblast 1 stay in this unit. So this card just helps us assist with our multi-attacking. There are combo plays you can make with it on Daiyusha to get about 4 to 5 attacks with this card. And thanks to that, you can create multiple attacks against your opponent, along with the force 2 additional power, making this deck a lot more lethal and threatening. It's really just here to apply more pressure. I only feel like 2 is necessary. Any more than this is not needed, and then any less is, like, you won't see it then because we're not playing as many draw triggers in the deck, but I just feel like 2 is a good number, and I'm going to keep it because it offers multiple attacks and gets more power in Daiarms. For my next grade 3, I played 3 copies of Dimensional Robo Daiarms. So Daiarms has been a staple in most Dimensionpolice decks for a long time. If you guys do not know what this card does, he was introduced in the first set of Dimensionpolice support and has the following ability. Act on Vanguard or Rearguard circle. Once per turn, you Soul Blast 1 and your Vanguard gets 5k power. And then if your Vanguard is 35k or greater, this unit gets 10,000 power until the end of the turn. So, no, my bad, not till the end of the turn, it's continuous. So if your Vanguard were to get double damage trigger, no, that wouldn't work either. What am I talking about? Either way, I just play this card because it makes numbers, and sometimes you do need help getting your Vanguard to that power threshold, and having this unit to do so is helpful. And it costs a Soul Blast, which isn't really expensive in this deck, and we do make our soul back with some other cards that we're playing. So having this card to get us numbers and create our rearguard attack stronger is really what I'm mainly using it for. This card over the time to me has become more of like a flex slot, simply because although it makes numbers, I just feel like there are better cards I want to play, or depending on how the deck goes, I might want to play more defensive units since I am relying on my grade 3s mainly for the offense. So Daidragon is still good to play. I'm just up in the air about it right now, but I still like it. It's still a good card. For my last grade 2, I play 4 copies of Platinum Ace. Now, Platinum Ace is probably one of the best grade 2s that Dimensionpolice have. He has 2 of the following effects. His first one is continuous on the Vanguard circle, he gets 5k power during your turn, and then rearguard circle when it attacks, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater and their power is 30,000 or more, you soul blast one, you get 10k in a crit. So this card has an easy threshold to meet for its rearguard skill. The Vanguard skill you don't care too much about, it just helps you apply more pressure or help you activate a grade 1 skill that I'll show you later. You're mainly just playing this because the rearguard ability helps you apply more pressure when you attack to get 10k in a crit on top of the force 2 and extra power you already have, therefore making your attacks a lot more lethal. And then even doing that, because you're swinging for so many criticals, it helps you damage deny against your opponent, which means that your opponent will have a lot less counterblast to work with, which is something that they have to take into consideration. So Platinum Ace it's another pressure card, another pressure tool in the deck that, along with Force 2, just makes this deck a lot more scarier, as you're pretty much swinging at your opponent with 3 crit attacks or 2 to 3 crit attacks every single turn. So Platinum Ace just helps add on to that strategy, and I think it's a staple in this deck so far. Now moving on to my grade 1s, I'm just going to go ahead and start with my spicy little tech of the deck that I just haven't taken out and I'm very pleased with still, is 2 copies of Sludge Monster Drohedd. Now Sludge Monster Drohedd is a V promo, and you do have to search for it, but it shouldn't be that expensive. It has the following ability, which is on the Guardian Circle, when placed, you counterblast one, and your opponent cannot boost until the end of the turn. So I actually got this tech from watching a different fight video when he explained his Dimensional Robo deck, and I was very, and at that time, that's when Melody was like the best deck. If you weren't playing Melody, you weren't winning. But Sludge Monster Drohedd is important now simply because now that Melody is back, and with cards like Lupina and Plan giving the deck full power, and your Karos even being more scarier with multiple marker making decks, it's just important to really just be able to stop that. Again, Dimension Police can't really handle too many multi-attacking decks well, nor can it handle like big rushes. So Drohedd, you put on the Guardian Circle, counterblast just for 1, and then you pretty much shut down all their Karos in the back row so that their attacks, or if not completely guardable, are manageable again with just 1 damage trigger. So I'm playing 2 copies of this big card because I just feel like it's needed right now. To me, it's really only the main reason why the deck can survive against your opponent's strong Melody turns. So 2 copies of Drohedd. I'm happy to see this card back in the deck, but again, this is just my personal tech. You can put this to be anything. You can play Quilt or play something else. For my next grade 1, I'm playing 3 copies of Dimensional Robo Daibrave. So Daibrave is still a card that I've been playing with forever. I don't think I'm ever going to take this card out unless something better just comes along, but I haven't seen it. So Daibrave has 2 of the following effects. His first ability is Light Daidragon. You can Soul Blast one, and one of your Vanguards gets an additional 5,000 power until the end of the turn. And then he has the other ability, which is on the Rearguard Circle. When your Vanguard attack hits a Vanguard, you place this unit into your soul, and then you get to draw a card. So this is the card that helps us get some soul back. It helps us draw. You play this usually on your Platinum Ace turns because your opponent wants to get that 1 damage. And then this card with Platinum Ace just makes magical numbers if you soul blast one. You're swinging for 28k against them, or 23 if you don't feel like it's necessary. But you get the soul, the extra draw, nothing to complain about. This card is really just here to get more resources and more utility back. For my next grade 1, I'm playing 3 copies of Twin Order. This is without a doubt a staple in the deck. This hasn't changed. Maybe the amount I've played has changed, but without a doubt this is a staple in all Dimension Police decks. So if you guys do not know what Twin Order does, Twin Order is another V promo. He has the following ability, which is when it boosts, one of your Vanguard gets an additional 10,000 power until the end of the turn for each force marker that you have on field. So it's very important to note this because this card is just the automatic. This card automatically helps you reach any threshold, any Dimension Police deck. Getting 10k for any force mark you need is just amazing because you're going in already 2 force markers, and if you have Daiyusha, that makes plus 20k to your front row for the, not 20k to your front row, 20k to your Vanguard, and then you have the other units that add more power, and then with the critical, therefore all of your attacks are just becoming more and more lethal. So Twin Order is just amazing to have. You have to play this card. The amount of power that offers you is just insane. For my next grade 1, I'm playing 4 copies of Cosmic Hero Grandrope. So some people are back and forth about this card, especially in this deck. I like it. Grandrope is the grade 3 searcher of Dimension Police, so I'm not really going to go into its effect other than the fact that If you have a grade 3, he gets 5k. This is the easiest power threshold to meet ever. It's a good booster, it's a good offensive unit. I'm playing this over the grade 1 dimensional robo simply because sometimes the 5k power that's just on call with that card, I don't like it. I like the fact that this unit is a consistent 5k buff to any of my attacking units. Therefore, I know that if I have this card as a booster for any of my attacks, I just know that it's going to be a lot stronger. And that's just why I'm mainly playing it. But I can see this card changing in the future depending on how the deck goes. But for now, I'm going to stick with 4 copies of Grandrope. Now for my trigger. So my trigger lineup has changed a bit. I'm playing 6 crit, which is 4 copies of Dimensional Robo Dairacer and 2 copies of Dimensional Robo Daibattles. This is a Dimensional Police deck, so I mean Dimensional Robo deck, so you obviously want to play this over anything else. Next up, I'm playing 2 copies of Army Penguin and 4 copies of Diamond Ace. So I'm still playing six draw, or at least trying to keep my draws high, because again, like I said before, this deck has always had the main problem of just not being able to get to its pieces, and this deck kind of does play like a combo deck, but there are key cards that you need to see, so having draw triggers help you get to that is important. Plus, this deck plays more grade 3s now than it did before, and with Dailiner's ability, which is the main grade 3 that you're on 9 times out of 10 anyway, you already have the extra shield that you need, and drawing into your grade 3s isn't as bad with Dailiner because, again, it becomes shield. So having this to help me get my piece is really what it's for. I don't think that the crit PG just doesn't work, because even though you got 30k shield, there are just too many decks like Himiko, Bermuda, and just too many decks right now that can just make too many like really strong attacks, and this card just says automatically no. The critical trigger, if this deck was like a lot more offensive, would be relevant, but I don't know. I just don't like the critical trigger. I just feel like the draw trigger is just perfect for this deck, because again, I need to see pieces, so that's why I'm playing my trigger lineup like this. And then finally, I play 4 copies of Dimensional Robo Gorescue. So Dimensional Robo Gorescue, it's Dimensional Robo Heal Trigger. This deck can't play 16 crit, so Heal Trigger's just good, always good to have. For my starter, like I said, this is a Dimensional Robo deck, so we have to play Dimensional Robo Goyusha. Best starter for Dimensional Robos. All the other starters are ugly or just straight trash in my opinion. So I'm playing Goyusha. Alright you guys, so before I head out, I want to talk to you guys about the marker. The marker for this deck is very straightforward. You have to go Force 2. Force 1 does nothing. Force 1 does not help you out with anything. There's no point in the game where I ever was like I wanted Force 1. Making the numbers doesn't matter. The extra numbers just... You want to go Force 2. You need to damage on your opponent for damage. You want to kill your opponent as soon as possible. Force 2 on top of the amazing power you already get from this deck is just what's needed. So I just feel like Force 2 is very straightforward with this deck. The only time I could ever see yourself going to Force 1 is you go into Force 1 when your opponent is already like... If you're already like, I don't know, if you go second, you double crit them, you go Force 1 to just make your Platinum Ace column a lot stronger so you can kill them on that, or pray for a trigger and just make your attacks a lot more threatening. But our attacks are already powerful. You're already swinging for over 33 on the left, the right, and more than 43 on the center. So I just feel like Force 2 is just the default of this deck specifically. But that is all for this deck profile, guys. Thank you so much for watching and sticking out with me through it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give that video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell when you subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel, and if you do, you will have no doubts about that. Plenty more content coming up soon. Make sure to fill out the comment section below and tell me what you guys think about the deck profile.